another one didn't work out, so I thought I would do this, which is IBX Toy Cat made a video about this. I'm pretty sure that was, yeah. And I thought, well, how about I give some of you a laugh by explaining some of these ideologies, political philosophies, whatever you want to call them. But I'm gonna do it how I would explain it, which is like a stupid person. I got my first strike for inappropriateness, so I'm gonna actually have to tone it down a little bit. I thought it was too small to get affected, but apparently not. So, yeah, well, we should start with left, right? We'll start with left. Alright, so yeah, you boy here, I'm gonna explain anarchism to you, so, neat little banner I made for it. Basically, in an anarchist world, it's exactly how it sounds. I don't think I really need to explain this. Everything goes. You can shoot your neighbor, and your neighbor, unless he shoots you back, no one will do anything about it, unless someone likes your neighbor, and then they can do something about it. There's no rules. You know, for a 10-year-old kid, this would sound cool, and it's kind of like the whole I don't want, like, no parents thing. Like, oh yay, I don't get parents, and then the minute shit starts going down, then they want it back. That's why anarchism has never been tried on a large scale, unless it's been a civil war, and then it's been a civil war. Anarchism only really popped up during civil wars, and that's because they fought, but it's still a prevalent ideology in this era. Alright, seat this away. Alright, now let's go to communism. Boom, boom, boom. Communism. So communism depends on, basically, you know the phrase from the Care Bears, sharing is caring? Well, imagine that, but with murder, funny Georgian men with mustaches, and, a lot of Joes, and boom. There's also a good amount of Mao's, too, and Lenin's, and Marx's. Yeah, it's a weird ideology. Just imagine sharing is caring, with weird, funny Georgian men and high people. Anyways, that's communism. Really brief, but you can find like a million videos on it, so. Socialism. Here's my thoughts on socialism. Communism light. There we go. Done. Let's go into the democracy slash. Let's go into the American system, aka representative democracy. And basically, if you live in the US, it's hard to explain because it's a complex system, but if you're like me and you live in the USA, if you live in USA, then basically you elect people who represent you in the House, you elect people to represent you in the House of Representatives and the Congress and other various things. And the Electoral College, that's what I was really looking for, the Electoral College. The Electoral College rules anything out entirely. So, let's just say, forgot I'm doing this with my cousin, freaking communist. Alright, hold up, guys. Just gotta do something really quick. By the power of your mother, go away. There you go. So let's say this villager man, let's call him Jeffrey. Jeffrey here was like, I'm like a staunch Republican, right? I'm a conservativa, and I'm gonna want to go out there and I want to build walls and I don't know. But what else do they do? Follow Trump on Twitter. There we go. I want to go. So he's gonna go out here, and he would go to his slates. Let's just say the tower is the equivalent of the White House, or not the White House. Let's just say it's a voting center, right? So go up all the stairs here. He'll put a piece of paper in a box and he'll walk down, and then whatever person in the electoral college gets in your area gets the most votes, depending on what party, or if it's an independent, then it's not what party. It's the lack of this party. But then that person will vote for the main Republican candidate. If it's a Democrat, it will vote for the Democrat candidate, generally. Sometimes it changes because the person isn't very honest about what party they're really supporting. Anyways, that's the representative democracy. Now, it's a direct democracy. It's pretty easy. You know what democracy is. People vote, however people vote, boom, leader. Let's do some, like, third positionist ones now. Like, do you know that? Let's do, essentially variations of the same ideology, so I'll talk about them both at once. So, we have Nazgul and Strasserists. Now, they're different, but they're very similar. Nazguls, racist communists. Strasserists, they are anti-Semitic communists, basically socialists, but they're anti-Semitic for the reason that there's a stereotype when the ideology was created that all Jews were greedy and they thought the ruling class was entirely Jewish and they hated the Jews for an economic reason. The founder, Gregory Otto von Strasser, blah blah blah, German name insert that I made up. It's just going Strasser. I think it was Otto Strasser and Gregory Strasser. Yeah, came up with this ideology, and then Nazguls, I forget who came up with it, but it was basically just the Russians during the Soviet Union trying to be far right, so they instead created that as a branch of the Communist Party. If I get that wrong, please tell me. Oh, frick, it's not in the chest or anything, it's in my inventory. Or monarchism. That's a good way to go. Monarchism. Basically, you already know what this is. King. Let's use this high tower as a government point. So the king's up here. Then you have the nobility here. Then you have some other rich people, some landowners. Then you go down here, lesser rich, middle class, depending on what time period you come from. Lower middle class, starting to get into the poor range. Poor, 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 peasant. Peasants generally act like slaves to people who are up in the nobility and like generally that upper area, nobility and rich. And the king, and everyone's just a slave to the king because the king has absolute power. Depending on what it is, it could be a constitutional monarchy where the king really doesn't have much power, and instead, or his power is regulated by a parliament or another system that is meant to stop tyranny and incompetence on the monarch's part. Let's talk about fascism now. The common misconception here is that fascism, Germany during World War II which fascism and Nazism were very close to each other, but they're fundamentally different in certain ways. Imagine fascism is still bad, remember, still bad, but toned down. It's still racist, but it's less racist. It's actually no, it's just as authoritarian. It's still racist, so it's less racist. That's basically all it's like toned down about it. It's just a little bit less racist. Not saying much, but you know, Mussolini level. He's like, Giovanni Giorno, JoJo characters that have Italian names. My name is Luigi Stavagini, and I am here to tell you. It's not Luigi Stavagini, it's Mussolini. My name is Benito Mussolini, and I am here to tell you one thing. Frickin'. And he loved Italy. Well, despite the fact that he's completely incompetent, but we won't talk about that. Oh, now we got the big bad boy. I'm not Nazism. Now, don't strike me, YouTube, for this, because I'm literally just explaining what this is. So imagine, so you know how we just talked about fascism, right? And it was Benito Mussolini's weird ass, like, less racist, but we all know who the Nazis were. Basically, you put your banner everywhere, like that, banner, banner. You slap your banner all over the place. It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They go nuts with the banners everywhere. It's like, hey, you go to a, like, if you're seeing any of the speeches, like, a surrounding mustache man, there was like 90 different freaking banners. He'd be like, yes, yes, we are the white people, and we are the superior race because I saw something on Facebook that said that it came from the article fakenews.com not. Since they put not, meaning that it is not fake news. So yeah, I think that's where Hitler got his ideas from. I think it was actually, it was all just Facebook, guys. Come on, we all know it's being true. Anyways, so and the ideology itself is just extremely far right, as you can tell. It is not like anti-worker like most people think. It was socialist. They always call it. It's called National Socialism for a reason. To a degree was socialist, but I would say it was actually more in line with Huey Long style socialism a than like Soviet Union style or something like that. Because it was less socialist. In fact, it was like kind of on the mid ground. It had some socialist policies and had some workers policies, but like aside from that, it was hyper authoritarian. Generally followed a form of pseudoscience that says that their race was superior somehow, in some way. For what reason? Like, don't get, like, what was his name? Like, Grobbles or something? Grobblesheen? I don't know. That guy, he wanted to return back to neo-pagan. He wanted to do neo-paganism. Now, Hitler himself was a staunch atheist, right? I mean, he had a pretty crappy life, so I mean, actually, no, there really doesn't. Still, he had a crappy life, so he probably didn't have that much faith. But yeah, he lost. He himself was an atheist, and he thought that religion itself was an enemy to the state, because he wanted absolute power. And what does religion do? Religion blocks him from getting absolute power. So, in turn, he in the beginning did not mind. In the beginning, actually, like, kind of set himself up, like, just Protestant, right? Because majority in Germany, except for like Bavaria and stuff, was Protestant at that time. Like whether it's Calvinist, Lutheran, but I think got farther into the war, the more atheist the state got, and then he fell, and then it became less atheist. I don't know about today. Maybe it's the same level as it was back then with atheism, but I don't know. I don't really care that much. So that wraps it up for this video. And before you tell me, oh, you're just ripping off whatever cat person, IBX Toy Cat, yeah, his name is such a tongue twister. Before you do say that, yes, I'm aware, but I'm putting my own spin on it by saying what I believe about said ideologies, and I will use some of the examples he used because they were good examples, right? They got the thing down perfectly now. I will probably do a part 2 to this, and if there's any other ideologies that you want me to do, and if this video doesn't get well received, if you think I am ripping off Twigget, then dislike, and I will probably take it down. Well, no, I won't. That will be erasing my history, which is not right. So I mean, I'll leave it up, but I'll probably edit it in the comments to say I wasn't very proud of it. But if you like it, that's good. That makes me happy that you enjoy my content. Why you do, I have no clue. But I'm still happy you do. Have a nice day, and glad this went better than the other video. And plus I figured out that surviving the nether is impossible, but if you want to reach beyond the stone. age. So, goodbye.